I only married Lina because of a corporate arrangement. She's the eldest daughter of a family so rich they don't have a net worth, they have a gravitational pull. And me, I know exactly what I am. I'm the stand-in, a warm body holding a place at the table until her precious first love comes home. Well, congratulations to the happy couple, because Romeo lands in 3 days, which means it's time for the fake husband to exit stage left, so I packed light. One backpack, nothing that screams runner. No bank cards, no phones with my name on them, no digital breadcrumbs at all. Just untraceable gold bars and the last of my hidden cash zipped into the lining. I've spent months building this. There's a remote mountain town at the end of the plan, the kind of place with one road in and no cell tower worth a damn. A place where a person can just drop off the map. Simple, clean, foolproof. And then right as I reach for the door, Lina throws herself into my arms. She clings like a stray cat that's decided you're home now. She leaves marks down my neck, laughing into my collar. And while she does it, her hands are moving. My backpack zipper hisses open behind my back. She's auditing me, checking the inventory, making sure her husband isn't carrying anything a husband shouldn't carry. I don't flinch. I've done this dance 100 times. I play the golden retriever. Loyal, dumb, delighted. I wait for the performance to end. Then she gives this soft little laugh and something heavy and cold clicks shut around my wrist. A bracelet, platinum, custom. It settles against my pulse like a shackle that's been fitted by hand. A commemorative bracelet, hubby. Her voice is warm. Her eyes are 2 pits of black glass. Wear it as a keepsake. I'll pick you up at 8. I felt like I'd stepped off a ledge into an ice cave. I smiled. I nodded. Yeah. 10 minutes later, I'm in the back of a burner cab, watching her mansion shrink into a gray smudge in the rearview. I pull up my sleeve and look at the keepsake. Here's the thing. You don't take something like this to a mall jeweler and ask them nicely to pop it off. This isn't jewelry. It's a custom-forged biometric tracker with a pulse monitor baked into the band. It knows my heartbeat. It's reporting my heartbeat. So I don't ask nicely. I pull a pair of industrial bolt cutters out of my duffel. I wedge the $100 million band into the jaws, and I lean my whole body onto the handles. Snap. The severed band drops into my lap and immediately starts strobing red, frantic like it's screaming. I roll the window down. A freight truck rumbles past in the next lane. I toss the thing into its open bed and watch it blink away into traffic. 3 seconds, that's all I get. Then my phone buzzes. A text from my supposedly indifferent wife. Lina, why is your heart rate 0, Kai? I snap the burner phone in half over my knee because that's when it lands. I didn't just walk out on a loveless marriage. I cut the leash on a billionaire's manhunt, and I have exactly 48 hours to vanish off the face of the earth before my fake wife burns it down to find me. So I go analog, fast. I dump the phone halves in 2 different storm drains a block apart. I pay the cabbie in cash and get out early at a crowded intersection where there are too many faces for a camera to care about mine. New cab 6 blocks, out again, 3rd cab going the wrong direction on purpose. Nobody follows. I check. I check again. Nothing but ordinary traffic and ordinary people living ordinary lives that don't include a wife who can weaponize the sky. I hit the mouth of a subterranean parking garage downtown and take the stairs, not the elevator. Down 3 levels, past the flickering lights, to a corner the cameras gave up on years ago. And there it is, my getaway car, bought 2 months ago. Cash, fake name, registered to a person who has never existed. I've never so much as driven it on a public road. It's been sitting down here in the dark waiting for exactly this day. I don't get in, not yet. I sweep it first. Wheel wells, bumpers, under the hood, along the frame rails, inside the trunk lid. I run my fingers behind the dash and pull the panels I can reach. I'm looking for anything, a magnet, a wire that doesn't belong, a little black box humming to itself. Nothing. I check again, slower, still nothing. And for the first time in 6 hours, I let myself breathe, because this is clean. This car is a ghost. It has no idea who I am, and neither does she. I slide into the driver's seat. The door thunks shut, solid and safe. I start the engine and it turns over sweet on the first try. The dash lights glow. The GPS screen stays dead and black, exactly like it should. Factory reset, no SIM, no signal, nothing. I run the itinerary one more time in my head. 200 miles tonight on back roads. Ditch the car at dawn. Produce truck to the mountains. Then the town, the B&B, the ghost flight. 48 hours. I can do 48 hours. I pull out of the space, ease up the ramp toward the gray daylight, and the dead GPS screen blinks on. I hit the brakes. The screen wasn't sleeping, it was waiting. A map draws itself line by line and locks onto a single destination I never typed. Route set. Estimated arrival calculated. Then the navigation voice speaks, but it's not the flat robot voice that comes in the box. It's her, soft, amused, a recording queued up and saved on a car that isn't supposed to know I exist. Drive safe, hubby, see you soon. I put the car in park in the middle of a 4-lane road, engine running, door open, horns already screaming behind me. I grab my backpack, step out into moving traffic and walk away without looking back. Let them tow it, let them strip it, let her have it. That car knew my name before I ever sat in it, which means it was never mine. It was a leash with cup holders. Here's what I finally understood, standing on that yellow line while a delivery van laid on its horn. I'm not running from a jealous wife. I'm running from a supercomputer that happens to love me. You can't outdrive that. You can't outtap it, outspend it, outclever it. Every screen is her eyes. Every card reader is a tripwire. Every clever little gadget I could buy to save myself is one more thing she already owns. So I do the one thing a machine can't follow. I go stupid. I go analog. I take the stairs down into the city's gut, not the clean transit stations with the tap gates and the ceiling cameras. The old ones, the ones under the old ones. Flickering tube lights, water sweating down the tiles, the kind of tunnels where the trains still take coins and nobody's uploaded a schedule since before I was born. No facial recognition down here. No Wi-Fi to sniff my ghost. Just concrete and rats and people who very much do not want to be found either. My people apparently, it takes 3 hours and a lot of asking the wrong questions to the wrong faces before I get pointed at the right one. A freight loader with forearms like bridge cable and a toothpick doing all the talking. He runs product to the mountain towns. Vegetables up, nothing down, no manifest, no questions. Cash, he grunts. Better, I open my palm. The gold bar catches the one working light like it's proud of itself, small, dense, stamped with nothing. No cereal, no bank, no story that ends at my family. Untraceable weight is the only currency that doesn't rat you out. His toothpick stops moving. 10 minutes later, I'm folded into the back of a produce truck, wedged between crates of cabbage and something leaking that I choose not to identify. The door rolls down. The dark swallows me whole. The engine coughs, catches, and we lurch north. And for the first time in 12 hours, nobody in the world knows exactly where I am. Not even the supercomputer. I actually let myself smile in the dark. The ride is a slow, rattling misery. Every pothole drives a cabbage crate into my spine. It's hot in a way that feels personal. I doze in 10-minute pieces, jerking awake every time the truck brakes, certain the door's about to roll up on a wall of Lina's men in matching black. It never does, it's just farm country, just road. Somewhere past midnight, the truck stops at a way station and the loader tosses a crumpled newspaper into the back to prop the door for air. I don't even mean to read it, but the little light comes in and there's a face on the front page I know. Ren, silver hair, camera smile, landing at the international terminal 2 days early, mobbed by fans, one gloved hand up like he's blessing them. The first love, home ahead of schedule, and something in my chest just deflates because this is good news. This is the plan working. He's back. He's the real thing, the whole reason I existed in that marriage. She doesn't need the stand-in anymore. She never did. In a day, she'll forget the fake husband ever ran because her actual prize just walked through arrivals waving at cameras. I should feel free. I mostly feel like a returned rental, like something you keep only until the original is available again. I fold the newspaper so I can't see his face. Then I unfold it and read it 4 more times anyway. Pathetic, I know, moving on. Dawn leaks gray through the crate slats when the truck finally shudders to a stop. Mountain air. Cold and thin and clean, nothing like the city. The loader rolls the door up on a narrow lane, a stone marker, and past it a rambling 3-story house half drowned in climbing roses, a hand-painted sign. A B&B, my B&B, the last dot on a plan I drew months ago in a different life. A woman comes bouncing down the path before I've even got both feet on the ground. Brown bob, enormous knit sweater, yellow rain boots, a smile like she's been waiting all year for exactly me. You made it, Mr. Kai, right? I'm May. Oh, you look exhausted. Come in, come in. I could kiss the boring ordinariness of her. No suit, no earpiece, no tilt of the head like she's pricing my organs, just a small-town host who thinks I'm a tired tourist with a camera hobby, which is the whole point. I follow her in. I'm running on fumes and one thought, I made it. 48 hours started and I made it here clean. At the little front desk I crouch and thumb the combination on my backpack, the good padlock. The one I set myself that hasn't left my body since the city, that no one has touched. I zip it open to dig out cash for the room, and I stop. Sitting on top of my folded clothes I packed in a bag I locked that never left my back, is a black envelope. Crisp, heavy sealed. I did not pack that. My hands are already cold when I open it. There's one thing inside, a single Polaroid. It's me, asleep, slumped between 2 cabbage crates in the back of a sealed truck, mouth open, dead to the world, taken from above, taken close, taken by the timestamp scrawled in white ink along the bottom less than an hour ago. I slid the Polaroid back into its black envelope like it might bite me. Then I smiled at May and asked for the room key. Because here's the rule: when you realize the walls have eyes, you do not let the walls know you noticed. You pay, you thank the nice host. You climb the creaky stairs like a tired tourist, and you do not sprint, even though every muscle in your body is voting to sprint. I made it to the room, shut the door, turned the little brass lock that I now understood was a decoration, and then I took the whole place apart. Smoke detector unscrewed, lamp disassembled. I flipped the mattress, ran my fingers along the bed frame, pulled the backing off the one sad painting of a mountain. I unthreaded the shower head. I checked the outlets for the ones that were a little too new, the screws that were a little too shiny. Nothing. Which honestly scared me more than finding something would have. A bug I can rip out, but there was no bug. There didn't need to be. She'd already proven she could reach into a locked bag on my own back. Why wire a room when you own the person who cleans it? I went downstairs to test that theory. May was arranging jam jars like it was the most important job in the world. Hey May, casual, breezy, a man with nothing to hide. Weird question. Anybody call ahead about me? Ask you to. I don't know. Keep an eye on the tired city guy. She lit up. Oh, tons of people book through the agency. There was a really nice lady who paid for your whole stay up front. Cash, super generous. My stomach hit the floorboards. She said you've been working too hard and needed peace and quiet and to please not let you skip meals. May beamed. Isn't that so sweet? Is she your sister? Something like that, I said. And that was the moment I finally got it. This town wasn't a hiding place. It was a terrarium, a cute little glass box with roses and jam and a bubbly girl who'd sell my whereabouts for grocery money and never once feel bad because in her version of the story she's helping. Lina wasn't hunting me through this town, she was watching me in it, so I went shopping for a jailbreak. The town market was all wooden stalls and grandmothers and the smell of frying dough. Wholesome, idyllic. Absolutely crawling as far as I was concerned with billionaire informants. That old man selling dried chilies who watched me a beat too long payroll, the kid who followed me past 2 stalls lookout or just bored, the woman who pressed free candy into my hand and refused my money. Nobody's that nice. Nobody. That's not generosity, that's a retainer. I bought like a man planning a murder that was mostly his own logistics. A paper map of the region, a compass the real kind with a needle and no opinions, a flashlight that runs on batteries and answers to no cloud, cash for everything, exact change, no eye contact, analog, dumb, unhackable. If it can't hold a signal, it can't hold a leash. The candy lady watched me leave and called out that I should come to the bonfire tonight. The whole town would be there, of course they would. The festival was at the old watermill after dark. Fire the size of a car. Music, dancing, everyone holding hands in big stupid happy circles. I didn't come to dance. I came to find a way out. He was near the woodpile, exactly the type, leathery, quiet, watching the crowd instead of the flames. A man who moves things that don't want to be moved. It took 20 minutes and one more small gold bar, but I got it. A truck to the border checkpoint, back roads, no lights, leaving before dawn. From there my ghost flight. From there gone. He spat, nodded once and named a time. 24 hours. That's all I needed the world to hold still for. 24 hours and I'd be a rumor. For 1 second, warmed by a fire in a town I'd never see again, I let myself believe I'd actually won. Then the billboard died. The big digital screen over the town square, the one that had been looping ads for tractor parts and the jam festival all night, flickered, stuttered, went black. The music didn't stop. Nobody else even looked up. Just me and the smuggler beside me watching a dead screen. It rebooted. No ad, no logo, just a single line of white numbers against black, enormous, ticking down in real time. Hours, minutes, seconds rolling. 24 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. 23 hours, 59 minutes, 58 seconds. I knew that number in my bones. It was my flight. Sync to the second. She hadn't just found my exit, she'd scheduled it. And underneath the countdown, letters 4 feet tall lit up the whole square in cold white. Vacation ends in 24 hours. Be late. I don't remember deciding to run. 1 second I'm watching 4-foot numbers count down my life over a town square. The next I'm gone, shoving through the dancers out of the firelight into the dark. The smuggler doesn't follow, smart man. He saw the same billboard I did. Nobody wants to be standing next to the guy a screen just called out by name, so I run alone off the main road into the town's back half where the lanes go narrow and crooked and the streetlights give up. This is the one thing the map got right. This place is a maze. Stone walls on both sides, alleys that fork and double and dead end into somebody's chicken coop. No signage, no logic. No satellite on Earth is untangling this fast enough to catch a man on foot who's willing to bleed on the walls. And for once, that works for me. I run smart. I don't just flee, I break the trail. Left, then an immediate right. Through a low archway, over a wall I have to jump for. The mud is the only thing fighting me. It grabs at my shoes, sucks at every step, tries to keep me in place for whoever's coming. So I stick to the stones where the waters run off quiet and quick, and I let the walls take my fingerprints instead of leaving footprints in the muck. I double back once on purpose, folding myself into a black doorway, holding my breath to watch the lane behind me. Nothing moves. No footsteps, no black suits. No sweep of a flashlight, no earpiece crackle, no engine idling somewhere it shouldn't. I keep going until my lungs are on fire and the music is just a far-off heartbeat behind the rooftops. Until the alleys spit me into a tiny courtyard, a well, a bucket, a crooked tree, ankle-deep mud from the afternoon rain. Empty, dark, silent, I press my back against the cold stone wall and let myself slide down an inch. My legs are shaking, my shirt soaked through, but I did it. I lost them. I lost the town, the billboard, the whole glass box. 23 hours and change. I can hide in a hole that long. I can. A hand reaches up and gently straightens my collar. I don't scream. I want that on the record. My whole nervous system tries to leave my body through my feet, but I do not scream. She's standing right in front of me, close enough to kiss, close enough to kill. Lina in a white suit, white, bone white and immaculate in an alley that is 90% mud and despair and not one speck of it has dared to touch her. Her hair is perfect. Her spine is a steel rod. She smells like frost and expensive jasmine, out here where everything else smells like rain and goats. She tilts her head at me, that little bird tilt. The one that means she's already read the ending of me and is just watching me catch up. I brace. Any second now, the guards, the van, the strong hands under my arms, hauling me off to whatever gilded cage comes next. I search the shadows over her shoulder for the men in black. And because bracing for the end has always made my mouth run, it runs now. You know, I pant, most wives just check the Find My Phone app. You broke your phone. Most wives take the hint then. You look thin, Kai. She reaches up and pushes a wet strand of hair off my forehead like I'm a kid who fell off a bike. Have you been skipping meals? I flinch so hard I hit my head on the wall. There it is. That's the thing that undoes me every time. Not the money, not the reach, not the helicopters I'm sure she owns. It's this. She hunts me across a country and the first thing out of her mouth is about my dinner. Go ahead, I say. My voice cracks and I hate it. Call them, whistle, snap your fingers. However you summon the goon squad, let's just do this. She just looks at me. There's mud on your knee, she says quietly. You're going to catch a cold again. That is not the part of this you should be worried about. I laugh and it comes out wrong, high and thin. You flew across the country, you put a countdown on a billboard, and you're worried about my knee. I worry about all of you, she says, simple, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Like that's not the single most terrifying sentence I've ever heard. She doesn't call anyone, that's the part that breaks the script. I'm braced for capture for a fight, for at least a threat, and instead she just looks at me soft and patient like we've got all the time in the world. Then she reaches down and takes my hand out of the mud. Not a grab, not a cuff. She threads her fingers through mine, slow, deliberate, lacing them tight like we're a couple on a date and not a manhunt. You have 23 hours and 45 minutes of vacation left, she says, pleasant, precise, like she's reading it off a screen only she can see. It seemed a shame to spend it apart, so I decided to join you. She lifts my other hand, palm up, presses something small and cold into it, closes my fingers around it for me, a key, brass, worn, a little paper tag on a string. It's a room key. From May's B&B, the room right next to mine. I know the number. I checked every exit on that floor the second I arrived. Show me around, hubby, Lina says and smiles like the sweetest wife in the world. I hear this town is lovely. I woke up to the smell of eggs. For one soft, stupid second, I forgot. Then I remembered whose hands were cracking them and my whole body went rigid under the blanket. She was in my room. Of course she was. The adjacent room key had been a formality, a polite fiction like the lock on the door. Lina stood at the little kitchenette in a crisp shirt, sleeves rolled, plating breakfast like she'd done it every morning of our lives. 2 eggs, toast cut on the diagonal, the exact amount of salt I like, which I have never once told her. Morning, hubby, she said, not turning around. You slept 11 hours, you needed it. This is the part nobody warns you about. I could survive her being cruel. I've got a whole armor set built for cruel. What I don't have a defense against is this, the woman who hunted me across a country, humming to herself while she butters my toast. The whole day was like that. She shadowed me through every inch of it, not looming, hovering, gentle and constant, always half a step behind with a jacket in case I got cold. She found May in the kitchen and rolled up her sleeves to help with the dishes, this billionaire heiress with hands worth more than the whole B&B, laughing at May's dumb jokes and drying plates like it was a spa day. May thought it was the sweetest thing she'd ever seen. Your wife is so hands-on, she whispered to me, delighted. Yeah, hands-on, that's the word. Because here's what shredded me, she wasn't treating me like a used-up stand-in. You discard a stand-in, you forget him the second the real actor shows up. She was treating me like a fragile treasure, checking my temperature with the back of her hand, steering me away from the wet steps, watching me eat with this quiet, ferocious focus, like I was the single most valuable thing in 100 miles and might break if she blinked. Stand-ins don't get that, and I could not for the life of me make the math work. So I did the only experiment I had left. I tried to break her. Let's go for a hike, I said, sweet as I could fake it. There's a trail up the back of the mountain, really scenic. There is a trail, it is not scenic. It is a near vertical mudslide of switchbacks that even the locals avoid after rain, and it had rained for 2 days. My whole plan was simple and petty. Drag the high society princess up a mountain of filth until her patience cracked. Until the real Lina, the icy, impatient CEO, finally snapped and stormed back to her helicopter and left me alone. She showed up in white designer boots. The kind with a red sole. The kind that cost more than the truck that smuggled me here. We climbed for 3 hours. The mud tried to eat us both. It sucked my shoes off twice. I was filthy to the thigh, gasping, genuinely miserable, and Lina climbed behind me the entire way without a single complaint. No sigh, no are we there yet. She ruined those $1,000 boots one careful step at a time and just kept smiling at the back of my head, quietly, completely happy, like there was nowhere on earth she'd rather be than covered in mud behind me. By the overlook, I understood I could not outsuffer her. There was no discomfort I could inflict that she wouldn't gladly eat, as long as it came with me attached. That's when something in me finally gave out. We sat on a flat rock at the top. The whole valley spread out gold and green below us. It was annoyingly beautiful and I stopped performing. No barbs, no golden retriever act, no angle. I was too tired to be anything but honest, and honesty came out flat and quiet. Lina, I need a divorce. She turned to look at me. Ren's back, I said. He landed early, I saw it. He's the real one, the first love, the whole reason any of this ever happened. You don't need the fake anymore. The stand-in did his job. My voice didn't shake, I was past shaking. So please just let me go. There, I'd said it. The truest thing I'd said in 2 years of marriage. For a long moment she didn't move, she just stared at me. Blank, utterly blank, not hurt, not angry, but puzzled, like I'd started speaking a language she didn't recognize. Then she laughed, not the sweet wife laugh, not the cold one either. A real one, helpless, delighted, bubbling up out of her until she had to press the back of her hand to her mouth. It went on too long. It made the hair on my arms stand up because I did not understand the joke, and I was very obviously the joke. Oh, she said finally, wiping the corner of one eye. That's what this is about. She pulled a slim iPad out of her bag, tapped it once, turned the screen to face me. It was a live news broadcast. Ren, silver hair, camera face, standing at a podium in front of a mob of reporters, except he looked wrong. Pale, sweating through his makeup, hands trembling on the podium as he read from a card like a hostage. The banner scrolling under him, pop star Ren announces shock retirement, relocating permanently to Antarctic Research Station. I read it twice, 3 times. Ren was on live television in real time, quitting his entire life and moving to the bottom of the planet. Lina watched my face do the math. Her smile came back soft and sweet and bottomless. Kai, she said gently, tilting her head. Who is Ren? The sky broke open halfway down the mountain. Not rain, a wall of water, sudden and cold, like the whole valley had been holding its breath and finally let it out. In seconds I was soaked to the bone. The mud turned to soup. The trail turned to a river. I don't remember most of the way down. I remember shaking. I remember Lina's arm locked around my waist, taking my weight, her voice steady in my ear telling me to keep moving, one more step, one more. I remember the lights of the B&B swimming up out of the dark. Then the floor came up to meet me. The fever took me fast. Everything after the doorway comes in pieces. Heat rolling off my skin in waves. The ceiling breathing. Voices far away and warped like I was hearing them from the bottom of a well. I know May tried to help. I heard her at the door, worried, chirping, offering blankets, a thermometer, the number for a clinic 2 towns over. I heard Lina answer her. I didn't catch the words. I caught the tone, low, final. The warm hostess voice she'd used all day was just gone, and what replaced it made May go quiet mid-sentence. A moment later I heard the lock turn, then May's footsteps retreating and not coming back. She'd cleared the room. She'd cleared the house. Whatever was about to happen to me, it was going to happen with just the 2 of us. The playful stalker was gone. What tended to me now was something colder and far more efficient. She moved through the fever like a surgeon through an operating theater, no wasted motion, no panic. Cool cloth on my forehead, fingers on my pulse counting, pills pressed past my lips, water tipped after them. She stripped the wet clothes off me and wrapped me in something dry before I could even shiver. I have been sick alone my whole life. Nobody has ever taken care of me like they'd burn the world down if I got worse. It should have felt safe. It felt like being owned. Somewhere in the worst of it, the fever pried my mouth open and everything just fell out. I couldn't stop it. The armor I'd worn for years, the snark, the angles, the careful, watchful quiet, the heat melted it right off, and underneath was just a tired person saying true things to the dark. I'm so tired, I heard myself say, of being the one that everybody gets to throw away. Her hand went still on my forehead. My own family, I mumbled. My real family, they picked her. Hana, she lied, she cried those fake little tears, and they just believed her over me, their actual son. 5 years I've been the villain in a story I didn't write. The words kept coming, I couldn't damn them. They married me off to get rid of me, handed me to a stranger like clearing out a room. And even here, even you, my voice cracked, thin and wet, I'm just the fill-in. The stand-in, the thing that holds the spot until the real one shows up. Everyone's punching bag. That's all I've ever, that's the whole job. I laughed or tried to, it came out as a sob. I'm so tired of being nobody's first choice. The room was very quiet. I felt her lean in close, cool cloth pressing gentle against my burning forehead. I thought some drowning, hopeful part of me thought she was going to say something soft. Tell me it wasn't true. Tell me I was wrong. I turned my head toward her. Her eyes were open, inches from mine. And the warmth I'd been so afraid of all day, the fussing, the fragile treasure softness, it wasn't there. It had been switched off completely. What looked back at me was flat and dark and utterly patiently certain. She brought her lips to my ear, and in a voice with no performance left in it at all, she told me the truth. You were never the stand-in, Kai. The fan turned overhead, my heartbeat roared in my ears. I never cared about Ren, not for a single day. Ren was a shield, a face for the cameras, a story to point the world at so nobody would look at what I actually wanted. Her breath was cool against my skin. The arranged marriage wasn't your family getting rid of you, it was me. I chose you. I reached into that ugly little family of yours and I pulled you out. I couldn't move. Couldn't tell if this was the fever or the world. I've been watching you for 5 years, she whispered. Long before the wedding, long before you ever knew my name. Every version of you that thought he was disposable, I saw all of them and I wanted everyone. Her hand settled over my hammering heart and held it there like something she'd already bought. You spent this whole time running from the fake wife who didn't need you. Her mouth curved against my ear. But I was never the stand-in's wife, my love. You were never the fill-in. You were always the target. I woke up clear-headed for the first time in a day, which was the worst possible thing that could have happened. The fever had broken. The sheets were dry. My skull didn't feel like it was full of hot sand anymore. And with the fever gone, there was nothing left to soften what she'd whispered into my ear in the dark. 5 years. You were always the target. It sat in my chest like a swallowed stone. The other side of the bed was empty, cold. On the pillow, a note in perfect handwriting: business back by noon, eat something. I checked my watch, and for 1 second the stone in my chest turned into something else, something like hope. The first flight was long gone. It had lifted off a runway 200 miles away while I was burning through a fever, and I'd been too delirious to even mourn it. But the smuggler didn't run just one plane out of that border strip. There was a second window, a backup, and it left in 4 hours. 4 hours. She'd stepped out. The door wasn't locked. The math was simple and it was mean, and I did it anyway. I was still weak. I was still shaking. But a weak man moving now beats a strong man moving never. I pulled on dry clothes, grabbed the backpack, and went out the window like the coward I've made a whole career of being. The smuggler, the border, the flight, one straight line if I could just hold it together for 4 hours. I moved fast through the waking town, hood up, sticking to the walls. My legs didn't want to cooperate, but they didn't have a vote. Down the market lane, past the shuttered stalls, toward the woodyard at the edge of town where the smuggler kept his truck. I actually started to believe it. That's the trap every time, the second you let yourself believe. I cut through the narrow alley behind the mill, the shortcut, and a shadow peeled off the wall to block my path. Not a black suit, not one of hers. A three-piece charcoal suit, ironed stiff as cardboard. Salt and pepper hair slicked back hard, pale gray eyes like dirty ice. And that bow, that fraction too low bow that had always been an insult, wearing the mask of respect. "Young master," said Giant, "you're a very difficult man to bury." 2 more shapes came off the walls behind me. Big ones, the hired kind with the dead eyes and the taped-up knuckles. Of course. I'd spent 2 days and a fortune in gold running from a billionaire's private army, and the thing that finally cornered me in a muddy alley was my own family's butler. "Giant," I kept my voice level, kept backing toward the only gap left. "Shouldn't you be somewhere polishing something?" "I was so relieved when you left the capital," he said, gliding a step closer, hands clasped behind his back. "You made this so convenient. No cameras out here, no witnesses, no wife." A thin smile. "She really did lose track of you this once. What do you want?" "Your signature, and then regrettably your silence." He tilted his head, savoring it. "You never knew, did you? Your grandfather saw through all of us in the end. He rewrote everything before he died. The shares, the properties, the entire estate. He left it to you, young master, every last share, not to your parents, not to sweet weeping Hana." His lip curled. "To the disposable one." The words hit me sideways. Grandfather, the whole estate, mine. It had been mine this entire time while I was being married off and shipped out like clearing a room. "Hana's been beside herself," Giant went on. "Do you understand the problem, young master? A living heir can contest. A living heir can talk." He nodded once to the men behind me. "A dead one simply signs where we tell him to." I ran. Obviously I ran. I made it 4 steps. Then a fist took me in the kidney and the alley tilted, and the mud came up hard and cold against my cheek. A boot found my ribs, then another. I curled around myself, breath gone, tasting copper, while Giant's polished shoes stopped a foot from my face and stayed there, unbothered, patient. "Hold his legs," he said, mild as ordering tea. "Both of them. He needs a hand that can still hold a pen. The legs are simply so he understands the situation." Paper rustled somewhere above me, a transfer document, my name already typed on it, waiting for a signature they'd break me into giving. "Nothing personal, young master. You were always just an obstacle." 2 of them pinned my legs to the ground. One raised a length of steel pipe over my knee. I stopped struggling. There was nothing left to struggle with. This was it, not the billionaire, not the manhunt, just a greedy old man and a pipe in a nowhere alley, erasing me the way everyone had always wanted to. I closed my eyes and the light went out, not a figure of speech. The gray morning sky over the alley simply vanished, blotted black in an instant, and a sound rolled in behind it, a deep, bone-deep mechanical roar that I felt in my teeth before I understood it. Rotors. I forced my eyes open. Down the slot of sky between the rooftops, 3 of them hung in the air, black, unmarked. Military grade, the kind of machines that do not exist on any registry, boxing the alley shut from above, downdraft screaming through the lane and flattening everyone to the walls. The pipe froze over my knee, and through the roar, very faint, some hysterical part of my brain finished the sentence I'd been running from for 2 days. "She said she'd be back by noon." The ropes dropped first, thick black lines uncoiling out of the bellies of the helicopters, and then men pouring down them, fast, silent, too many to count. They hit the alley in full gear and moved like the mud, and the chaos didn't apply to them. No shouting, no warning, just a wall of professionals folding into the space between me and the pipe. Giant's thugs didn't get to be brave. 1 second they had me pinned, the next they were face down in the muck with knees in their spines, the steel pipe kicked away, disarmed before their brains caught up with their bodies. The hands holding my legs were just gone. I lay there in the mud, ribs screaming, staring up at a slot of black sky full of rotors, and I could not make my mouth do anything at all. Then a pair of shoes stepped into my field of vision, not tactical boots, heels, spotless, in an alley made of filth. Lina walked in through the middle of it like she was crossing her own lobby. But it wasn't the wife who'd buttered my toast. It wasn't the woman who'd hiked a mudslide in ruined boots just to stay near me. That one was gone, packed away somewhere behind her eyes. What walked into that alley was the head of the Fu conglomerate. Black suit, sharp as a blade, spine like a steel rod, not one hair out of place, not one flicker of warmth in the obsidian of her eyes. The mercenaries adjusted around her without being told, the way iron filings turn to a magnet. She didn't look at me first, she looked at Jian. And Jian, who had never in his life bowed to anything he couldn't profit from, went the color of old paper. Madam Fu, he started, the oil already pouring back into his voice. This is a misunderstanding. I was only on your knees. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Two of her men put him there, hard, gravel and mud soaking through those immaculate charcoal trousers. His hands scrabbled behind his back out of pure habit and found nothing to clasp. Then she took out her phone and I understood that the helicopters had been the mercy. She placed a video call, held it up. It connected on the second ring. Hana's face filled the screen, soft chestnut waves, wide doe eyes that practiced fragile prettiness. She was mid-simper before she registered who was calling. Oh, Lina, sister, it's so good to— I'm going to speak and you're going to watch, Lina said. It won't take long. What happened next took 3 minutes. I timed it later because I couldn't believe it either. She didn't yell. She made calls the way other people breathe. One line to a bank, the family's accounts, frozen mid-sentence. One line to a name I didn't catch, a forensic file, the real one, the one Jian had buried 5 years ago, already in the hands of the police, already time-stamped, already impossible to bury again. One line, and the shell company's Hana had been siphoning grandfather's estate through simply stopped existing on paper. On a simper cracked, then shattered. You can't, sister, please, I didn't, it was Jian, he made me. He's here, Lina said, and turned the phone so Hana could see him kneeling in the mud. Say hello, it's the last thing you'll have in common. I watched my adopted sister, the girl whose fake tears had cost me 5 years, my family, my name, dissolve into real ones, ugly, panicked, useless ones. Behind her on her end, I could hear a door break open and voices identifying themselves as police. Jian was already sobbing into the ground. Two people who had spent their whole lives certain I was the disposable one, reduced to wet, begging wrecks in the span of a single phone call. I should have felt triumphant. Mostly I felt cold. Because this was the woman I was married to and she'd done it without once raising her voice, and every bit of that surgical world-ending precision she pointed it at them. To protect me, I didn't know what to do with that. I still don't. Local police cars nosed into the mouth of the alley, blue light stuttering across the wet stone. Officers cuffed Jian and hauled him up, and he didn't even resist, just hung there in their grip, hollowed out. I stayed on the ground a moment longer. Then I remembered. I looked at my watch, and there it was, quiet and final under all the noise. The little number I'd bled 2 days and a fortune in gold to reach. My ghost flight had departed 10 minutes ago. Gone. The forged passport, the border truck, the one straight line out of this life, all of it, lifting off a runway 200 miles away without me. I had nothing left. No plan, no exit, no clock left to beat. For the first time since I snapped that bracelet, there was no next move to make. A shadow fell over me. A hand reached down, and this time I let it pull me up out of the mud. The Fu conglomerate was gone from her face. The wife was back. She looked at me with that soft, bottomless, blood-chilling sweetness, brushed the dirt off my shoulder, and pressed a slim leather folder into my hands. I opened it, a marriage certificate. New, ours, not the corporate arrangement I'd signed 2 years ago with a stranger, a fresh one, permanent, ironclad, every loophole I might ever have reached for already sealed shut in advance. Lina laced her fingers through mine over the folder and smiled. Vacation's over, hubby. Her eyes were warm again and worse for it. Ready to go home? So here's how it all shook out. I'm rich now. Obscenely, stupidly rich. Grandfather's whole estate came back to me the moment the fraud unraveled, the shares, the dozen properties, the name my family spent 5 years trying to erase. Fully exonerated. On paper, I went from disposable stand-in to single largest private shareholder in 2 conglomerates in about a week. Turns out being married to the woman who reduced my enemies to sobbing puddles by phone comes with a killer legal team. We're back in the mega mansion, the one I ran from. Same marble, same silence, same wife. Except I'm not running anymore. Look, I did the math. I did it 100 times lying awake in that enormous bed. I ran across a country. I went analog, burned my identity, bartered gold, hid in a truck full of cabbages, and disappeared into a town at the literal end of a mountain road. And she found me in under 2 days, tucked a Polaroid into my locked backpack, and put a countdown on a billboard. There is no running. There was never any running. That door was always going to be a decoration. But here's the thing I couldn't admit while I was covered in mud. It's not only a cage. The people who spent my whole life throwing me away are in prison. Nobody frames me anymore. Nobody's coming for the inheritance because the last 2 who tried are a cautionary tale. I have a wife who will, with genuine enthusiasm, obliterate anyone who looks at me wrong before I've finished the sentence. That's not nothing. That's honestly kind of a lot. So I stopped playing the obedient golden retriever. I found out fast that the docile stand-in act was the only version of me she'd never actually wanted. The first time I snapped back at her, some dumb thing, she'd reorganized my entire closet by color, and I told her she'd finally found a way to make my clothes as controlling as she is. She went completely still. I braced, old habit, then Lina lit up, whole face like I'd handed her a present. Say something mean again, she said, delighted. No, please. Turns out 5 years of watching me from the shadows, and the thing she was starving for wasn't the perfect, polite husband. It was me, the real one, the one with opinions and a mouth, so now we bicker. I steal the last dumpling off her plate and she threatens to buy the restaurant and have it closed out of spite, and neither of us means it, and she has never once looked happier. Case in point. Last week she mentioned, casually, buttering toast, the way she mentions apocalyptic things, that she'd acquired the building across the street because the tenant's balcony had a sightline into my study. You bought a skyscraper, I said, because a stranger could theoretically see me reading. He was looking. He was watering a plant. Suspiciously. I told her she was insane. She told me she loved me too. Then she slid the good half of her toast onto my plate and asked if I'd slept enough, and I ate it because I was hungry and because that is apparently who I am now. It's the healthiest dysfunctional marriage on the planet. I've made peace with the adjectives, which brings me to this afternoon. I told her I was going for a walk, alone, in the city, and I watched her physically restrain herself from assigning me a security detail, a driver, and probably a satellite. Alone, I repeated. Alone, she agreed through her teeth like the word cost her a molar. Small victories, so I walked. No plan, no destination, the whole point was to have neither. I let myself get a little lost on purpose, down streets I'd never picked, testing the fence line of my brand new life just to feel where it ended. It felt good. It felt like independence. It felt for a few blocks like a normal guy on a normal afternoon. I ducked into the most random cafe I could find. Tiny, tucked down a side street. No sign I recognized, no chain, nothing that could possibly be connected to anything. The kind of anonymous little nowhere I used to plan escape routes around. I ordered a coffee, and when it came, I did the most ordinary thing in the world. I pulled out my wallet, a new one, cash only, untraceable, old habits, and slid $100 bill across the counter. The barista looked at the bill, then at me, and smiled a little nervously. "Oh no, sir, you're all set," I frowned. "It's fine, I've got it." He slid the coffee toward me. And underneath the cup, a small printed receipt. I picked it up, paid in advance by LINAFU. Your heart rate is 72 BPM. See you at dinner. I stood there in the most random cafe in the city, holding proof that there is no random cafe in the city, that the wallet's untraceable and I'm not, that 2 days ago the number on my wrist read 0 and it scared her badly enough to raise a small army, and now she just keeps a tab open on my pulse everywhere forever the way other people keep a photo in their wallet. A year ago, this receipt would have sent me out the back window. I looked at it a long moment, then I sat down. Took a sip. The coffee was, of course, exactly how I like it, and I smiled.